Now, about the, quote, much criticized, close quote, Rasmussen poll, as NPR described it, it asked American adults the following question, as you heard. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? It's okay to be white. 81% of white American adults strongly or somewhat agree, 7% strongly or somewhat disagreed, and 13% responded not sure. As for blacks, 53% strongly or somewhat agree, 26% strongly or somewhat disagree, and 21% of blacks responded not sure. Now, in interpreting the poll, Adams confusingly said, quote, if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, that's a hate group, close quote. Well, 26% of blacks strongly or somewhat disagreed is not half. Also, Adams made no comment on the nearly 20% of whites who either strongly or somewhat disagree or are not sure whether it's okay to be white. Presumably, Adams wouldn't want them as neighbors either. Now, Adams, as you heard, said a lot of things in what NPR described as a racist tirade, including that he tried to be supportive of blacks, but felt his efforts were not appreciated. He also said he is in kindred spirits with those who believe in hard work and merit. Do you really think Adams, a former Bernie Sanders supporter, is the only white person who feels this sense of frustration? After all, we have had affirmative action or race-based preferences now for over 50 years, and some black students want separate dorms and graduation ceremonies. How is that any different from what Adams just said? Nearly every major city from New York to LA has or has had a black mayor, with many having or having had black police chiefs. Yet, when a black suspect was mistreated recently in Memphis, the black mayor of LA suggested the cops would have reacted differently had the suspect not been black. Never mind the cops and the Memphis police chief are black. Take Baltimore. In 2015, a black suspect named Freddie Gray died in police custody. The mayor was black. The number 1 and number 2 in charge of the police department were black. 3 of the 6 officers charged were black. The police department is majority minority. City council is all Democrat, majority black. The state attorney who blocked the charges was black. The judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case, and by the way, who found them not guilty, was black. The U.S. attorney Loretta Lynch was black, as was President Barack Obama. Yet despite all these black players and decision makers, the DOJ announced a civil rights investigation. At a time when anti-black racism has never been less of a factor, most blacks demand reparations, properly, in my opinion, described as payments from those who were never slave owners to be given to those who were never slaves. Schools promote concepts like critical race theory that characterize whites as oppressors and blacks as victims. Some blacks complain about microaggressions. If in response to Black Lives Matter, a white person says, all lives matter, all hell breaks loose. So, is it really surprising that some whites, like Adams, are saying, check please? He just said it out loud. Frustration is not racism. Joining me to discuss this, and who recently wrote a piece called Only 54% of Black People Think It's Okay to Be White, is the Washington Examiner's Chris Tremoli. Chris, thank you for coming on as always. So, Chris, does that make Mr. Adams a racist?
Well, no, I don't think he was a racist, and I could understand his frustrations for sure. However, one thing I would do is I would actually 100% disagree with him and go in the opposite direction. For example, he talked about how, and you brought this up earlier as well, about the white people also having issues with saying it's okay to be white. But going to put the respondents who are black in the poll, my immediate reaction to that was that we need to be doing more. I mean, this actually shows what the damage that left-wing indoctrination has had on the black community in the education system for, decades at a time. So if anything, I would say this is kind of a wake-up call to say, hey, no, we need to push back, the people well, he's not really, I can't say on the right if he supported Bernie Sanders. So I would say, like, anyone with common sense and logic would say, like, hey, this is a wake-up call. We need to push back and show, this is not right. What's it that the left and Democrats always say about racism? It's taught. It's, people learn racism. They never say that, it's a natural thing, and it's not. So this would be the preeminent example of that, and it would show this is what the horrible toxicity of the left is doing in the black community, and as it kind of forms these opinions about white people. And I would say that it's more of a call to action to show this way, their way of doing things is wrong. Dr. Martin Luther King, in his I Have a Dream speech, said, judge people not on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Well, if nearly half of all black people feel that it's not okay to be white, then it's an obvious sign that they're judging people on the color of their skin, not the content of their character. So they're basically veering far left off of Dr. Martin Luther King's speech and ideology. So that's why I would say I would push back against Mr. Adams and say, no, we need to kind of go out there and not abandon and not give up, fight even harder, pull down and say, like, this is wrong. Your way of thinking is wrong. It is okay to be white, just like it's okay to be black, just like it's okay to be Latino, Asian, Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Native American,
right,
whatever race or ethnic group that's out there. So when he says that, it's definitely frustrating for sure, especially if he has the self-righteous, Bernie Sanders-esque, I'm doing everything I can to help people, and it kind of feels a little bit of resentment. However, my thing, like I said, I would say, not to repeat myself again, is I would push back even harder and say, no, okay, and even use it as a reason, saying, hey, Democrats, liberals, leftists, your way of doing things is wrong. Your way of doing things creates hate, creates division, creates racial animosity. This is proof. Now it's, Republicans need to kind of get back up there, and conservatives need to say, no, this is, all races are good, all people are good. Treat everyone with dignity and respect, regardless of skin color. And that's what I would kind of tell him. If I was sitting down talking to Mr. Adams, that's what I would tell him.
Larry Elder here. Buy gold and get a free safe to store it in. That's right. On qualifying purchases from Birch Gold Group now through March 31st, they will ship a free safe directly to your door. All you have to do is visit LarryForGold.com to get your free info kit on gold and to claim eligibility for your free safe. Here's the deal. The Fed keeps raising rates because, frankly, it's the only tool they have to keep inflation under control. And it's not working. You cannot spend your way out of inflation. You've seen the impact on the stock market. You've seen the impact on your savings. Hedge inflation by owning gold, whether physical gold and silver in your safe or through an IRA in precious metals, where you can hold real gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied customers. Visit LarryForGold.com for your free info kit on gold and to claim your eligibility for your free home safe by March 31st on qualifying purchases. Again, visit LarryForGold.com. That's LarryForGold.com. Well, Chris, the fact that people didn't say 100% it's okay to be white, 100% it's okay to be black, it's just sad. But I want to say again, 26% of blacks said it's not okay, or strongly said it was not okay. That's not half. 21% said I'm not sure. I think a lot of people said, "What kind of question is this? What are you talking about? What do you mean by this?" But beyond that, Chris, I want to just say this. 20% of whites,
yes, that's
disagreed or strongly disagreed, or said they're not sure. What is that all about?
Is it weird that I'm actually shocked it's not higher among the white community that they feel? Because there was an incident a couple of years ago in the suburbs of Philadelphia in which I think, if I have my memory serves me correctly, someone was putting signs that says it's okay to be white, and the county was investigating that as a hate crime.
Right.
And it's just like, again, first of all, I mean, I think I'm of the school of thought where we need to move away from like all this like race of division. I think we're Americans. I've always found it odd that the only place in the world that we aren't identified as Americans is in our own country. Like if you go to Europe, no one says, oh, he's an Italian American. Or, if you go to Asia, no one says, oh, he's an African American. They're just Americans. Yet in our own country, we're not that.
Chris, there's also the issue of a double standard here. Take Spike Lee. Spike Lee once publicly said he does not like interracial couples. When he sees them walking down the street, he gives them daggers, visual daggers. And he once gave a little talk and publicly said he didn't like the idea that white people were moving into Harlem because it changed the culture. Nobody condemned him. Nobody canceled him. He still makes movies. He still gives speeches. But you let Dilbert make some comments, maybe inartfully expressed, and he's written off as a racist, and he gets canceled.
Well, come on, Larry. By now, that's to be expected. We know there's a double standard. That's enough. That it would be surprising if the opposite did happen, truthfully. But no, and then to a larger point, you nail it on the head there, and that's true that when it comes to race, the left, if they didn't have any double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all, and they constantly do what they do to advance their agenda of divisiveness and create racial animosity. So when a black person, a minority person, a non-white person makes comments that are like anti-white, that's permissible, if not outright celebrated. But when it's reversed, it's all of a sudden a big issue. I mean, I could go look at this past week on ESPN. 20 years ago, Rush Limbaugh made the comment about Donovan McNabb that he was being celebrated and given all these accolades because he was a black quarterback. Just last week, Kendrick Perkins on ESPN said that Nikola Jokic, the NBA player of the Denver Nuggets, won MVP of the past 2 years in the basketball league because he was white. I mean, that's like literally the same thing of the flip coin there. And he didn't lose his job, he didn't get fired. There wasn't any outrage. There wasn't any. Well, there was outrage, but it wasn't. So there's definitely a double standard. It's wrong. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier when I said it's more of a reason to keep pushing forward and going against the left and against what they're teaching rather than just give up, throw your hands up and say, I'm moving on. I'm of the belief that we have to fight. We have to work to change this. It's a difficult job given the magnitude and the power of the left for sure. Right. But it's just kind of like keeps on going, and you have to fight to change course and make people believe that these things are wrong and try to change them.
Let's do an apples to apples. In the mid-'90s, a cartoon strip started called The Boondocks. It went about 10 years until the mid-2000s, written by a guy named Aaron McGruder, who is black. And essentially, the premise was that America is racist. Blacks have a difficult time adapting. And he teed off on conservatives in his comic strip. He teed off on Larry Elder. He called Condoleezza Rice publicly in a speech a murderer because he opposed the Iraq War, referred to George W. Bush as functionally illiterate, and said he wasn't elected in a speech. Nobody canceled him. Nobody said he shouldn't run his strip. So Dilbert goes off on his podcast, says these things, and all of a sudden, hundreds of people are no longer carrying his comic strip. Again, it's a double standard that you and I have been talking about for a long time.
Yeah. Well, actually, the funny part is, you brought up your favorite publication, the Los Angeles Times, right? They wanted to carry Dilbert's thing more. The same people that called you the blackface of white supremacy, all of a sudden, have a moral high ground in saying no when it comes to Dilbert. It's just, that more than anything, and that's what my frustration is. And I wish Dilbert would have actually talked more about that, or Mr. Adams would have talked more about that, saying, the insane double standard that exists and that had existed for a while.
Last question. Do you think he'll get back his same level? He was in 2,000 outlets at the peak of his popularity. What's going to happen to him down the road?
Well, that's tough because I could honestly see it going, and I hate to be indecisive here, but I could honestly see that going either way. I mean, there'll be after a while, so after the outrage settles, so to speak, I could see it kind of resuming. But then again, this is kind of like the hallmark and the core tenets of leftist political ideology. Thou shalt not make anything critical of non-white people. So this could be he could be have a life sentence here of being exiled from his thing. So, like I said, I honestly don't know how to answer that question. I can honestly see it going either way.
Well, temporarily, he has supplanted Donald Trump, I think, as the most hated white man in America.
Give it time,
Give it time.
Yeah.
Chris Tremoli, Washington Examiner, as always, Chris. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Wait a second. This is a part of the show where the great Eldersky holds up a pair of brown My Pillow, My Slippers. That's the time. And they come in different colors, and they come in different styles. So if for whatever reason you don't like this style, there is an alternative. Just call that number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. And this, of course, is the product that started it all, the My Pillow, or am I being redundant? Now there's a My Pillow 2.0. You've never slept on anything more comfortable. Call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. And here is the 6-pack. Notice it says towels that work, meaning they absorb the water. Isn't that what a towel is supposed to do? They come in different colors. Call the number on your screen. By the way, there are over 600 My Pillow products. And don't forget, mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. Finally, this is the Giza Dream Bedsheet. Giza is an area in Egypt where the finest cotton is grown. Mike scoured the world to find the best cotton, and that's where he found it. These come in different colors. Mine, of course, is white because I am the black face of white supremacy, but you're not. You may want a different color. Also, they come in different sizes because beds come in different sizes. Again, over 100 products. Call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. That's mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. Now, you know you like the show. Be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe. We're trying to get our subscriptions up. And then scroll down and get on our mailing list because, believe it or not, from time to time, YouTube apparently has an issue with our videos. Whether it's one about the election of 2020, whether it's about the COVID mask mandates, whether it's about the so-called January 6th insurrection. Every now and then, for some reason, YouTube has an issue with our videos. To make sure you never miss a video, get on our mailing list. And you see that donate button, hit that, throw a little something in the tip jar, make sure we can still giving you honest, hard-hitting programming. Larry with epoch.com, Larry with EPOCH.com. I am Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.